Christos Rezdaitsia, Slavityaho. Christ is born, let us glorify him. Good morning, everyone. This is Father Basil again doing another podcast. And this is, of course, the second day of January of the new year, 2026. And, I've been reflecting upon things. And what is the biggest issue in our world today? If we polled millions and millions of people in the world and asked them what is the biggest issue that they're facing right now, and of course, everyone would have their own answers. Not enough money to survive. Food prices are going up. Commodity prices are going up. Gases prices are going up. They don't have enough money to live month to month. Others might say war. Wars in the world. There's no peace. There's conflict all the time. There's there's too many wars happening in the world. And other people might say, well, the biggest conflict that they're facing is how to raise children, how to have a healthy family life with so many different influences on children these days with the internet and all these websites that children go to, and how do we protect children from evil people in this world, from those who try to take advantage of them. And then others might say, well, the biggest issue in the world is environmental issues of climate concerns. How are we going to face that in this world? And all those are important to understand. All those issues are important to think about. But to me, the biggest, well, of course, maybe I'm a little biased as a priest, but the biggest issue is our lack of faith. The biggest issue in the world today is our lack of belief in God, that God has made us, that God can help us through all these different situations that we're facing in the world today. Our lack of faith in God is the biggest issue in the world to me. Because if we all had that faith that God wants us to have, if we all had that faith that that God has taught to us through Jesus, through the apostles, through the priests today, the priests that preach in church, and tell people what Jesus expects from us. If we had that faith to live that life that Jesus wants us to live, all those other issues that we were facing, environmental issues and how to raise kids issues and war and poverty and money, all those things are not as are when feel so overwhelming as they are today. If we had faith, if we had the faith to say, God bless you, to tell other people about our faith in one another, then we can say, I can overcome all these issues. I can overcome these things with God's help. And I have faith that God is going to give us that strength, that perseverance, that patience to do what He wants us to do. So to me, the biggest issue in the world today is not war, it's not poverty, it's not environmental issues or any of that. It's our lack of faith. It's definitely our lack of faith that we don't trust God enough to help us through any issues we have. And again, as I said many times in these podcasts, I studied history, and we need to know history in order to understand the world today. And you look at these historical figures and the saints, I always encourage people to read about the saints. Read about the saints' lives. Every day there's a saint that we can study, that we can read about and say, how did they overcome their issues that they faced in their era of the world? How do they overcome those things that we are facing today? Because people 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago were facing the same thing. There was poverty then, there was wars then, there was, economic struggles then. They had the same kind of issues we have today, but they had the faith to overcome them. They had the faith to say, we need to trust in God. We need to trust in God each and every day of our lives. That's the problem in today's world. We don't trust God enough. We think that we can live without God. We think we can live without God's love and mercy in this world. And that's a big mistake. Because if we don't trust God, if we don't think that God is in control of the world, and we think that we can control the world ourselves, we are making a huge, huge mistake. Because we're not going to have that peace of heart. We're not going to have that peace that God is going to give us what we need in this life. We're always going to be worried. We're always going to be unsettled. We're always going to be, stressed because we're always trying to get ahead of other people. We're always trying to get more money. We're always trying to do more and more and more and not live in God's peace. And that's the main problem in today's world. That is the main problem, that we are not living in God's peace. So, pray, continue to pray, continue to do what God has asked us to do. Trust, just trust in God. Trust in God in everything. And yes, there's going to be wars. There's going to be evil people in this world. There always have been evil people in this world. There always have been problems of poverty and wars and people not being nice to others. That's going to happen. But still, with all these things happening, we have to trust in God. That God is going to lead us out of this, sometimes misery, that God is going to lead us to better things. We have to trust in that. God bless you.